Have you ever felt exhausted waking up every morning? Not because you want to, but because if you don't go to work, there's no money coming in? I've been there. And one of my students, she's been there too. She worked in marketing, hardworking, smart, earning close to $70,000 a year. Sounds decent, right? But at the end of every month, she'd still hold her breath waiting for payday. So I asked her a question, the same one I want to ask you right now. If you stopped working tomorrow, would money still show up for you? Silence. A long, heavy silence. Because here's the truth. Most of us have no income unless we're physically present. Now I want you to imagine something for me. You're on a beach somewhere, completely unplugged, phone on airplane mode, no emails, no Zoom calls, and you're still making money. Sounds like a dream, right? But for the wealthy, that's not a dream. It's the result of a completely different mindset. They don't work for money. They build systems so that money works for them. See, income helps you pay the bills, but assets, that's what gives you freedom. Rich people don't chase high-paying jobs forever. They chase ownership, things that keep generating income even when they stop working. Maybe it's stocks or real estate or a small business. Maybe it's a book or an online course they once created. I call that asset income. It's what happens when you work hard once and let the system keep running for you. And look, I know what you might be thinking, but I don't have money to invest. I'm just a regular person. I get it. I really do. But here's what I want to tell you from the heart. You don't need a lot of money to start. You just need the right mindset. When you realize your job isn't the destination, it's just a tool to build income-generating assets. Something inside you shifts. You stop chasing money and start directing it. You stop working for the dollar and start hiring your dollars to work for you. So let me ask you this. Are you living just to work, or are you working to create freedom? That's the first step, not just to make money, but to build real freedom. Have you ever felt like you're working incredibly hard, yet somehow you're not really getting ahead? I once met a man like that. He worked 12 hours a day, constantly on the move, always busy, always answering calls, always doing something. But year after year, his income stayed exactly the same. One day I asked him, "What kind of value are you creating that the marketplace would actually pay you more for?" He looked at me a little puzzled and said, "I don't know. I just know I'm always busy." And that right there is the trap so many of us fall into. We grew up in a world that praises hard work, but we were never really taught to ask, what is that hard work actually producing? You can work 10 hours a day, but if you're only doing tasks that someone else could do just as easily, your income will always stay average. Because the market doesn't pay for sweat. The market pays for results. I want you to picture this. There are two people who do landscaping. One spends 8 hours pulling weeds, watering plants, trimming the bushes. The other, he works just 2 hours, but redesigns the garden into a peaceful meditation space. He creates an emotional experience for his client. Guess who gets paid more? It reminds me of a quote I always carry with me. 1 hour solving a real problem is worth more than 10 hours of just staying busy. You don't need to do more. You need to do what's worth more. So start asking yourself, every single day, is what I'm doing today solving a real problem? Would someone, a customer, a company, a community, be willing to pay for the result I'm creating? Because you're not paid to be present. You're paid to bring impact. When you shift from being busy to creating value, everything starts to change. You'll begin to earn more by doing less. Not because you're lazy, but because you're working smarter, more strategically, with intention. And here's something to remember. Successful people don't ask, how many hours did I put in? They ask, what did I create that others are glad to pay for? If that hits home for you, drop a comment that says value down below. I'll send you a simple exercise to help you identify your current skills, how much they're worth, and how to start positioning yourself differently in the market. Because in the end, you don't need to do more to succeed. You just need to be worth more. There's one question I want you to ask yourself and be really honest. What are you measuring your worth by? Is it the number on your paycheck? Or is it the assets you own, the kind that still bring in money even when you're not working? I had a student once. She was making $8,000 a month. Sounds impressive, right? But after 7 years in the game, she didn't own a single income generating asset. No real estate, no stocks, no business equity, nothing. So I asked her the same question I'll ask you right now. If you had to stop working for the next 3 months, would a single dollar still show up in your account? She went quiet. And in that silence, I saw something in her eyes, the confusion of someone running really fast, but not knowing where they're going. You see, high income isn't the same as wealth. Income is like a stream. You've got to be present to keep the water flowing. But assets are a reservoir. They store, they grow, they keep flowing even when you're not around. Smart people don't ask, how much do I make? They ask, what do I own that keeps paying me, even when I take my hands off the wheel? You could be making $10,000 a month, but if every dollar depends on you working for it, you're just renting yourself out to your job. Wealthy people don't play that game. They own systems, equity in businesses, rental properties, dividend stocks, even a YouTube channel that earns while they sleep. Maybe you're thinking right now, but I'm not ready to invest. I don't know enough. That's okay. Nobody's born knowing this stuff. You don't need a huge amount of capital. What you do need is awareness. Start today by writing this question in your notebook. What do I currently own that will keep paying me for the rest of my life? And if your answer is nothing yet, that's not something to be ashamed of. That's your wake-up call. Don't confuse income with assets. A paycheck can be nice, but only assets can give you freedom. If this resonates, comment assets below, and I'll send you a free starter plan to begin building passive income, even if you're starting from zero. Because you deserve to own, not just trade hours for dollars, but make money serve you. I used to believe that once I started making more money, I'd finally get better at managing it. Have you ever thought like that? Like once my income goes up, I'll start investing. When I finally have some extra cash, I'll start saving. When I'm rich, I'll become financially disciplined. But here's the hard truth. Money doesn't teach you discipline. A system does. I worked with a client once, a tech executive. He made over $250,000 a year. Sounds like he had it all figured out, right? But behind the scenes, he always felt broke. Why? Because every time he got a bonus, he upgraded his lifestyle. New car, bigger TV, first-class vacations. He didn't have a system. He only had emotions. And let me tell you, emotions are never satisfied. You see, wealthy people don't spend when they feel like it. They spend when it's already built into the system they've created. They don't ask every month, should I invest this time? No, because the answer is already preset. 10% goes to investing, 5% goes to personal growth, and they live on the rest. No willpower needed, no motivation required, just the system. So let me ask you, do you have a personal money system? Because if you don't, you'll live based on financial feelings, like driving through thick fog with no map, no GPS, just a hunch that you're going the right way. And here's the problem. Feelings are great at spending money, but terrible at keeping it. I want you to imagine this. You just got paid. You feel that rush. You treat yourself to a new watch, a fancy dinner, maybe a weekend trip. Feels good, right? But 2 weeks later, you check your bank account and you sigh. The solution isn't more money. It's a system that protects your money from disappearing. There's one rule I teach all my students. Money without a plan always follows emotion. And if you really want financial freedom, stop playing the I'll do better next month game. Start building a system, automate it, pre-decide it, then stick to it. You don't need more willpower. You just need fewer decisions and a system that's too good to fail. If this speaks to you, drop a comment that says system down below. I'll send you a simple, proven personal cash flow system, the same kind high performers and financially free people use every single month. Remember this, it's not the person who makes the most that becomes wealthy. It's the one who has a system to keep their money and make it grow. The power of long-term thinking. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're working so hard but getting absolutely nowhere? You wake up, grind all day, pay bills, stress out, then do it all over again next month, like you're stuck on some kind of financial treadmill? Yeah, I've been there. And I've met a lot of smart, hardworking people who still feel completely stuck financially. Until I discovered one simple but life-changing shift. Long-term thinking. I remember one of my students once told me, every week there's a new temptation. Flash sales, birthdays, limited time offers, late night cravings. She was exhausted, not from spending, but from constantly reacting. So I asked her, do you know what you want your life to look like 10 years from now? She went quiet, not because she didn't care, but because no one had ever asked her that before. And I told her something that changed both our lives. If you don't have a vision big enough to guide you, even the smallest emotion will pull you off track. You see, wealthy people aren't just better at making money. They're better at thinking long. They don't buy on impulse. They invest with a roadmap. They don't ask, can I afford this today? They ask, will this move me closer to my future freedom? One of the best habits I ever built was this. I wrote out my 10-year financial vision. Then I broke it down. 1-year goals, 3-month focus, weekly steps. And you know what that gave me? Clarity, calm, and the power to say no to what didn't serve the bigger picture. I want you to picture this. It's 10 years from now. You're sitting on the balcony of a home you own. You're debt-free. No more sleepless nights over money. You have assets bringing in cash every month, even while you sleep. Sounds far off? It is. If you don't start today, long-term thinking doesn't mean sacrificing joy. It means trading short-term pleasure for long-term peace. So if you're tired of living in constant reaction mode, start living from a place of vision. Ask yourself, if I keep my current habits for the next 10 years, where will I end up? And if I start changing something, just one thing, this week, what could shift? If you comment vision below, I'll send you a free 10-year financial roadmap. Step by step, simple to follow, even if you're starting from zero. Just remember this. Feelings move fast, but freedom moves slow. Yet with the right direction, slow and steady always beats fast and lost. Long-term thinking isn't just a skill. It's a way of life. And once you stand on that foundation, your money decisions naturally get smarter. Think bigger, start smaller, stay longer. Your future self will thank you. Money needs a mission. There was a time in my life when I was making more money than ever before, but feeling more out of control than I'd ever felt. Money would come in and then just disappear, and I couldn't figure out why. Have you ever felt that way? Like, you work hard, you hustle all month, but when you look at your bank account at the end of it all, there's barely anything left. And you sit there wondering, where did it all go? That feeling, I know it well. And over time, I learned something that completely changed how I handle money. Money is a servant, but if you don't give it a job, it becomes the boss. And trust me, it's not a kind one. When money runs the show, it drives your emotions. It stresses you out. It creates urgency and impulsiveness. And worst of all, it leads you to make some really dumb decisions. I remember one of my students once told me, every time I got a bonus, I'd feel so excited, I'd buy something to reward myself. But that joy lasted maybe 2 days. Then came the guilt. And then I'd be stuck, waiting for my next paycheck. Sound familiar? The real problem wasn't spending. It was spending without a mission. I want you to imagine this. You're running a company with 1,000 employees, but you don't give them roles, no direction, no structure. You just let them do whatever they want. What do you think happens? Chaos, waste, collapse. That's exactly what happens when you don't tell your money what to do. Money needs assignments. It needs orders. Every dollar that lands in your hand should be asked, why were you born? To invest? To build my emergency fund? To grow me as a person? To bring me joy on purpose? But if you don't choose the mission, your emotions will, and they're not always wise. Wealthy people don't let money wander. They tie it to discipline. They guide it with intention, and they make it work, even when they're asleep. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got from my mentor was this: never put your money in the hands of emotion. Put it to work for your vision. That one sentence saved me from making hundreds of stupid financial choices. So, if you want to change your relationship with money, start by treating it like an employee, not a boss who knocks on your door every time you feel bored, sad, or insecure. Write down the mission for each category of your income. Here's an example. 50% for living, 20% for investing, 10% for personal growth, 10% for conscious enjoyment, 10% for future building. If this resonates, drop a comment below that says mission, and I'll send you the exact worksheet I use with my students to help you assign purpose to your money and stay emotionally clear. Remember this, money can't think, but you can. So give it direction. Don't let it run wild. You are the financial CEO of your life. Act like it, lead like it, and make sure every dollar you earn knows exactly what it's there to do. Your wealth starts when you step into leadership. Stop selling hours, start selling value. Have you ever felt like you're working nonstop, but your income just stays the same? And then you look around and see people doing less than you, yet somehow making more, and you start wondering, am I doing this all wrong? Let me tell you a story. I have a friend used to mow lawns for a living. $15 here, $20 there, all by the hour. One day he called me and said, "Man, I feel like I'm chained to the clock. The more I work, the more tired I get. But the second I stop, the money stops too." Can you relate? Then something changed. He stopped selling hours and started selling solutions. Instead of charging per mow, he created monthly lawn care packages with regular trimming, automated watering, fall leaf cleanup, and pest control. His clients no longer paid for his time, they paid for results. A yard that looked beautiful all year without them having to think about it. And guess what happened? He doubled his income without doubling his hours. I asked him, "How does it feel not to be ruled by the clock anymore?" He laughed and said something I'll never forget. "It feels like I finally escaped the stopwatch." Here's the truth. Rich people don't work harder than you. They just work smarter. They don't sell hours. They package solutions. They deliver outcomes, and they charge accordingly. I applied this exact mindset in my own coaching business. Instead of charging per session, I built courses, bundled experiences, and created automated learning systems. And what happened? The value went up. My clients got more, and I got my time back to actually live. So now I want you to ask yourself, what problem does my work solve? How can I package that value so I can help more people without giving up more hours? You could turn your repeated explanations into a guidebook, record your knowledge into a course, create a full service offer instead of selling task by task. And if you want my free 3-step guide to packaging your value and multiplying your income without trading more time, just comment value package below and I'll send it your way. Remember this, you don't have to earn money by selling time. You can earn by delivering value, and value doesn't need your presence to exist. Learn to clone yourself through products, systems, and experiences. That's how wealthy people earn even while they're on vacation, at dinner with family, or playing with their kids. Time is limited, but value can scale. The 24-hour rule that changed everything. Let me ask you something. Can you remember the last time you spent money just because you felt something? Maybe it was after a long, exhausting day and you told yourself, "I deserve this." Or maybe it was on sale and you thought, "If I don't get it now, I'll regret it." I get it. I've been there too. So many times I walked out of a store with a full bag and a strange emptiness in my chest. One of my clients once told me, "I make decent money. I don't even buy expensive things. But somehow, every month, I feel broke again." I asked her, "Do you have a decision-making system for your money?" She blinked. "Wait, what do you mean by system?" And that's the shift I want to talk about today. Because wealthy people, they don't let emotions control their money. They use systems, not because they're cold or robotic, but because they know this. Emotion is the single most dangerous enemy of financial freedom. Let me tell you one of the best systems I ever learned. The 24-hour rule. Every time I want to buy something that isn't essential, I don't buy it right away. I wait, just 24 hours. I give the emotion time to settle. I let my logic catch up. And then I ask myself, is this going to make me better or just make me feel better temporarily? Will this bring me closer to my financial goals or just offer a short-lived high? You'd be surprised. 9 times out of 10, after 24 hours, I didn't even want it anymore. That's the difference. The rich don't just earn more. They decide better. They don't rely on willpower. They build systems to protect themselves from emotional mistakes. They automate their investments. They set rules to limit impulse spending. They know this truth: no system equals a problem waiting to happen. I once wrote a little note and stuck it inside my wallet. It said, "Is this emotion worth trading your future for?" That sentence alone saved me thousands over the years. And if you'd like to know the 3 simple systems wealthy people use to protect themselves from emotional money decisions, drop a comment below that says system, and I'll send you my personal checklist. Just remember this: every dollar you spend is a vote. You're either voting for your future freedom or voting for a fleeting feeling. The choice is yours. But the wealthy, they choose to pause, to think, to make decisions based on vision, not emotion. So try this just once. Next time you want to buy something, pause for 24 hours. You might still buy it, or you might thank yourself for not. And that's the moment you start owning your money instead of being owned by it. Every dollar is a seed. What are you growing? I want you to imagine this. Every dollar you spend is like planting a seed. So here's the question: are you planting your future, or are you throwing seeds into the wind without even realizing? I had a friend, every time payday came, he'd say, "Gotta treat myself. New jacket, fancy dinner, limited edition sneakers. All month grinding. I deserve this," he'd tell me. And you know what? I didn't judge him, because I used to be the same. Most of us grew up with the belief that money is meant to be spent. You earn it, you use it. Life is now, right? But then I met someone who shifted my entire perspective. He lived simply, drove an old car, no designer watches, but he owned dozens of income-generating assets. I asked him once, "Don't you get bored? Don't you want to enjoy life?" He smiled and said, "I'm enjoying something you can't see yet. Peace of mind, freedom, knowing that even when I stop working, the seeds I planted keep growing." Let that sink in. Have you ever thought of your money like that? That every financial decision you make today is a seed that will grow into something 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. Most people spend for an instant feeling, a little excitement, a flash of validation. But the wealthy, they spend for long-term freedom. They don't chase feelings. They invest in their future. Every dollar into a book is a tree of knowledge that grows for decades. Every dollar into stocks is a root of income that doesn't need you to clock in. Every dollar into health, systems, or skills is a bridge toward freedom. I once mentored a woman who worked as a cashier, barely making a few $100 a month. Instead of buying a new phone, she set aside $50 a month to learn digital marketing online. 6 months later, she landed her first freelance gig. A year later, she quit the cashier job entirely, all because she chose to plant seeds instead of picking unripe fruit. So if you're serious about changing your financial life, don't start by asking, "How can I make more money?" Ask this instead: where is my money going, and what is it growing? Look at every dollar you're about to spend. Is it consumption, or is it investment? Is it for today's thrill or tomorrow's peace? If you'd like me to send you my 10 tiny financial seeds that bear big fruit in 5 years, just drop the word seed in the comments. I'll share the things I wish someone had told me before I turned 30. You don't have to plant a whole forest today. Just one seed. Water it. Stay with it. Because money, when used wisely, won't be something that slips away. It'll be something that carries you closer and closer to freedom. Knowledge isn't power, action is. Let me ask you something. Have you ever bought a self-help book, read all the way to page 58, highlighted half of it, scribbled notes in the margins, and then closed it, put it back on the shelf, and a few weeks later, you're still facing the same struggles? I know that feeling, because I've been there too. There was a phase in my life where I read every personal finance book I could get my hands on. I knew about emergency funds. I knew how to budget. I could name 7 types of passive income in my sleep. But you know what didn't change? My bank account. That's when I had to face a hard truth, one that stung a little. Information doesn't build wealth. Action does. Think of knowledge like seeds. You can collect hundreds of them, but if you never plant any, they'll just sit in your pocket. No roots, no growth, no harvest. One of my students, smart, motivated, fast learner, once told me, "I know how to build an investment portfolio. I understand the 50-30-20 spending rule. I've taken 3 online courses on money management. So I asked her, okay, but what have you actually done? She smiled, sheepishly. Nothing yet. I'm still preparing. And that is the real trap. It's not a lack of knowledge. It's the lack of movement. See, average people wait until they're fully ready to start. But wealthy people, they start before they feel ready, and they learn as they go. A mentor once told me something I'll never forget. One real step is worth more than 1,000 imagined ones. You can read 100 books, but if you don't start tracking your spending today, if you don't move $10 into your first tiny investment, if you don't act like someone with a real financial strategy, then all that knowledge, it's just dead data. Financial freedom doesn't come to those who know the most. It comes to those who do the most, consistently. So here's what I want you to do. Pick the simplest thing you've learned and take real action in the next 24 hours. Not perfectly, just honestly. And if you don't know where to begin, drop the word START in the comments. I'll send you 5 quick, powerful money moves you can make today. No book required. Because here's the truth. Knowledge isn't power. Knowledge in action is. Successful people don't necessarily learn more than you. They just do more than you. So don't treat knowledge like a bookshelf trophy. Treat it like the blueprint to your house. One brick at a time, one step at a time, one honest move at a time. And soon you'll see, wealth doesn't grow from what you know. It grows from what you do. Budgeting isn't about limitation, it's about leadership. Let me ask you something. When you hear the word budget, what comes to mind? Cutting back? Restrictions? Tracking every penny? A feeling of lack? If so, you're not alone. Most people think of a budget like a diet, something you have to do when money's tight. But the wealthy, they don't create budgets to survive. They create budgets to command. I once spoke with a highly successful entrepreneur. He told me something that changed the way I see money forever. Kim, he said, I don't budget to see how much I have left. I budget to tell every dollar where it's going. Let that sink in. Rich thinkers don't ask, how much can I spend? They ask, what mission is my money serving? I want you to picture this. Imagine your money is a tiny army. If you don't give it orders, it runs wild, scattered, emotional, undisciplined. But if you give it clear commands, each dollar becomes a soldier with purpose. Some go build your investment fortress. Some stand guard in your emergency reserves. Some march ahead to work for you for the next 10 years. One of my students, her name is Linda, once told me, Kim, I don't like budgeting. It feels like I'm punishing myself. And I gently asked her, but are you moving toward financial freedom? She paused, silent. Because the truth hit hard. You can't arrive at a destination if you don't have a map. A budget isn't a cage. It's a compass. And when you start your budget with the right question, how can this dollar reflect the person I'm becoming? Then budgeting stops feeling like restriction and starts becoming an act of prioritization. Poor thinking uses a budget to put out fires. Wealthy thinking uses a budget to build dreams. The right budget gives you money for investing, money for personal growth, money for 5 to 10-year goals, and yes, money for coffee dates and spontaneous dinners without guilt. I always tell my students, a good budget doesn't take away your joy. It gives you more choices. So if you've never created a budget with freedom in mind, try this shift. Don't ask, what should I cut? Ask, what do I want most in the next 5 years? Then, aim your dollars at that dream. And hey, if you'd like me to send you a simple blob, no stress freedom budget template, that's actually visual, gentle, and empowering. Just comment the word freedom below. I'll send you a map, one that helps your money stop wandering and start moving toward the life you want. To wrap it up, average people budget to control damage. Wealthy people budget to create results. You don't need a lot of money to start managing it. You need to manage it to have a lot. And your budget? It's your command center, where you lead your dollars not with fear, but with clarity, calm, and purpose. Don't go alone. Wealth loves proximity. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're trying so hard, you're working late, learning more, doing all the right things, but someone else seems to be flying past you? Not because they're smarter, not because they're luckier, but because they're not walking alone. There's a quote I love, and I live by it. Proximity is power. Who you're close to determines how fast you grow. Get around the right people, and your life can shift in ways you never imagined. Stick around the wrong ones, and you'll keep spinning your wheels, stuck at the start line. I remember coaching a student, bright guy, very disciplined. He'd read dozens of books, finished every financial course online, took notes like a machine. But after 3 years, still stuck. So I asked him, has anyone ever actually mentored you, step by step? He looked down and said, nah, I figured I could just figure it all out on my own. And that was the block. Not effort, not intelligence, just isolation. A good mentor can shrink 5 years of failure into 5 months of real growth. They don't just tell you what to do, they show you what to avoid. They don't just inspire you, they give you feedback, strategy, and honest truth when it matters most. The human brain learns fastest in real environments. If you want to think like the wealthy, you need to be around people who live that way. If you want to invest better, don't just follow YouTube clips. Talk to someone who's actually doing it, winning, failing, adjusting, learning. I remember when I was just getting started in the financial world, I wrote one sentence in my journal. I don't have to do it all alone. I just have to find someone who's done it and learn from them. From the moment I started reaching out to people ahead of me, everything changed. Not just my knowledge, but my thinking evolved. And that's what creates lasting wealth. So if you feel like you're hustling hard but not moving forward, pause. Ask yourself, who am I spending the most time around? Are they pulling me forward or holding me back? Because you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose wrong, you'll repeat their patterns. Choose right, you'll rewrite your life. Final thought? Self-reliance is great, but isolation? That's a trap. Smart people learn from their own mistakes. Wise people, they learn from the mistakes of others. So if you've been stuck, maybe it's not a lack of willpower. Maybe it's a lack of connection. Find a mentor. Find a circle that challenges you, lifts you, teaches you. Because when you walk with the right people, you'll go further and you'll get there faster. Time is not money. Time is life. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're constantly busy, but you're not really getting anywhere? You work nearly all day, but somehow at the end of the month, you're still stressing about bills? Yeah, I've been there. I used to fill every hour of my day. Back-to-back calls, emails, deadlines, hustle, hustle, hustle. I was working hard, so hard. And then one day I realized something that hit me like a truck. I was trading the one thing I could never get back for something I still couldn't hold on to. I was spending my time just to make money. But the wealthy, they don't do that. They don't just try to work harder. They use time like a ladder to scale up their assets. I want you to imagine this for a second. You, yes, you, have 24 hours a day, just like Elon Musk, just like Oprah, just like Warren Buffett. So what's the difference? They don't spend their best creative hours doing 15-hour tasks. They protect their highest value time for 1,000-hour ideas. Ideas that create systems, products that sell while they sleep, decisions that take 1 hour but bring returns for the next 10 years. One of my students, super dedicated, worked 10 hours a day. I asked him, in those 10 hours, how many are spent building something that can keep going without you? He looked down, silent, because most of us were trained to do, but never trained to think. We're busy, but not productive. We're grinding, but not building. The average person sells time. The wealthy, they buy it back. They buy it back by hiring others to do repeatable tasks, creating systems that run with or without them, investing in income-producing assets instead of just sweating for every dollar. I remember one of my mentors once asked me, Kim, what are you giving your golden hours to? That question changed my life, because every morning when we wake up, we face a choice: work to survive or use your time to create value that lasts. So if you always feel short on time, maybe it's time to pause and ask, what is this hour worth? Is this task moving me toward freedom or just helping me make it to Friday? Here's the truth. You can always make more money, but time doesn't come back. Wealthy people don't try to do everything. They do what only they should do, and they delegate the rest to systems, to people, or to automation. And hey, if you'd like me to send you 3 strategic time blocks the wealthy always protect each week, just drop the comment "Golden Time" below. I'll send you a simple framework to help you redesign your week so you create breakthroughs instead of just putting out fires. Because here's the truth, you won't become free by staying busy. Freedom doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing what matters most. Time isn't money. Time is your most precious asset, and how you use it will decide how free you become. You're not just an employee, you're a business. Let me ask you something. Are you living like an employee, or are you operating like a growing business? Because here's the truth. Wealthy people, they don't just go to work. They run themselves like a personal financial ecosystem. They don't ask, how much did I make this month? They ask, how much value is my system creating? For who? And how can I scale it? I once worked with a client. She earned 6 figures a year. From the outside, she had it all together. But inside, she felt stuck. Not because she didn't earn enough, but because she didn't have a system. Everything depended on her. If she stopped working, the income stopped too. So I asked her one question, and now I want to ask you the same. Are you running yourself like a business, or are you just a high-paid employee? Think about it. If you were a company, what would your product be? That's your skill set, your value, the problem you solve. What's your marketing like? Can you position yourself, negotiate, sell, build your brand? Who is your target customer? Who are you serving, and who would pay for what you offer? And here's the big one. What's your growth strategy? Where are you investing to increase your influence, multiply your income, and scale your impact? Wealthy people don't just live day by day. They operate by quarters, like a real business. They don't just make money. They build systems that generate it. They don't just work harder. They create structures that produce value even when they're not in the room. One of my students once said, "Kim, I don't know what to invest in." I said, "Then invest in yourself, like you're a company. Write your product description. Sharpen your messaging. Expand your distribution channels, your connections, income streams, digital assets. Because at the end of the day, no one is going to build your wealth for you. It's the system you run or don't run that determines how far you grow." So if you feel like you're always running, always tired, pause and ask yourself, am I just a worker in a machine, or am I building a structure that creates value with or without me? Final thought, live like a business. Have a vision, build a system. Think in strategies, not just survival. Don't just show up for work. Build an ecosystem that works even while you rest. And hey, if you'd like me to send you a simple personal business map to help clarify your product, market, cash flow, and growth plan, just drop the comment, "Build my ecosystem" below. Because you're not just an employee, you're a brand, a product, a system in motion. And when you start operating like a business, your life will start growing like one.